Now, I'm going to share another personal story about prayer. Sadly, I'm divorced, and it was necessary. Some divorces are necessary, but it was a hard thing. And I needed to get a job and go back to work after being at home with my children for 13 years. And I live in an expensive area. And I was not going to get money from my divorce. So I needed to have an income that would sustain a lifestyle where my children were living and going to school, because I could not leave my children. So I had a desperate need. And I had all kinds of people tell me, you can't do it. I said, watch me. But it didn't really mean watch me. For those who were open to it, I shared with them, watch God. Because with God, all things are possible. So my prayer at that time was, God, you know what I can do. You know what needs to be done. Match us up. Match us up. The hardest thing I had to do was hold the space in faith for that to happen. And let me tell you, that's one of the most difficult things I have ever done in my life. I was separated from the father of my children, and we were married basically 20 years. Under the same roof. It was awful. But I was not going to leave my children. And I didn't have any money to move out. So let me tell you, that was tough. How long did it take? 9 months. 9 months during which every day I came to God in prayer. God, should I check the newspaper? If you want. What do you mean will it help? No. Why don't you go make lunch for the children? Okay. Next day. God, how about Craigslist? Should I check Craigslist? If it'll make you feel better. No, it's not about what's going to make me feel better. Is it going to help me get a job? Why don't you take the children to the pool? Okay, I'll do that. I'll take the children. Thank you. So I did that. Next day. God, how about now? Should I, I can update your resume? Yeah. So this went on for months. And eventually, in God's perfect timing, when it was ready, the job rolled around and dropped right in my lap. And God wanted to make absolutely certain that I knew it was the job for me. God has such a hilarious sense of humor. Wait till you hear this. God is really funny. So there was one other thing to my prayer. I said, God, I'll do anything except. There was only one job I didn't want to do. Only one. There's plenty of jobs in the world. There's only one. I don't want to do that job. Because I had convinced myself that it was a very high stress job, and that's not good. I don't believe in living on adrenaline, and I didn't want a high stress job that was going to cause me to work a lot of extra hours and not allow me to be the mom that I wanted to be, especially while I was going through a divorce and so on and so forth. So I put a constraint. I put a restriction. I put a box around God. Yeah, that's hilarious. You can imagine what the job was. Yeah, it was just that job. It was just that job. So when that job rolled around and dropped right in my lap, I laughed out loud because obviously it was mine. And I can tell you that job was wonderful. And that God wanted to show me that when He's in charge, there are no need for restrictions, because it was not a high-stress job. I did not require overtime, and I was paid a living wage for the area in which I lived, where my children were going to school. I had to wait for it, and I had to wait in faith, but it came. And that's a beautiful, true story of answered prayer. Kinds of prayers that are answered. Prayers of thanksgiving. Thanking God for what already is. And even if what is dark, thank God for it in faith, trusting. Because when you do that, God will show you the light in the darkness. And trust me, there is always light in the darkness because God created the entire experience and all the laws that govern it, that we are living here on earth. Now, obviously, the free will of men is messing it up, okay? But when we come to God, God will show you the light in the darkness. So prayers of thanksgiving are always answered. Prayers of supplication and repentance. This is when we look into our souls and we realize, I made choices that were out of harmony with God's love. I am sorry I did that. I'm sorry I did that. I'm happy I understand now that I made a choice that was out of harmony with God's love, but I'm very sorry I did it, and I won't do it again. God, will you please help me? Help me grow through this experience. Help me cope with the consequences of my poor choice. And help me not repeat it. That prayer will be answered. If it's heartfelt, guaranteed. Prayers of longing are answered. Longing for comfort in loneliness, longing for comfort in grief, longing for more love when we just flat out need more love. Now that's a tough one because we can all feel very unloved here. And if we have a lot of burdens on us and we don't believe that we're lovable, or we can't have enough faith to believe that God will love us, that last one can be a little bit of a hurdle. But if you keep at it and you ask God for faith, it will come a little at a time. Now remember, these are like drops of water, gentle, not a big flood. God's very subtle in answered prayer, but it'll come.